có sông chơi cả với cái thì ta sẽ mẹ cá suối xoài ở trong những micro này ta thì mà cô được tay mất thay trong xua có ấy riêng mình cho micro nên để chung hay xong thì trên play ba này là cô như thế mà bài bỏ cô là cái đồ ăn sẵn này mà mặc gì đây khi chúng tôi chơi nhà nhưng tôi rồi và Predator để dạy nhẹ bọn hồn nó nó tập Khmer nhưng mẹ mau thì hôn tay ai chơi đừng ngó hay bị biên bò được hôn tay viên thỏa thuận cái này chỉ với Việt Nam cả nó nhưng thì ở nào luôn pena tại vì bò nào là rất khó này hay tí mũi tiết nhưng trăm tí con là bay Khmer những ba trăm ở ta lui ở nào nắng hôn tay là ta chia học tập ở mấyคือเย็ดบ้านหาแผนแต่บ้านกันมาชนะเขาเมาที่คนเราพูดมีรูปพิมพ์แต่เฮียนดูนี่โจมมาขนมปังในเวทีนึงนี่อะไรที่เก็บห้องตามไปบ่มึงไอ้ส้มอ้อยอ่อนระเจี๊ยบลงเป็นดำทาอยู่อันมันทาเสายังคิวทักเสาก่อนตาหุ่นแฟนจับมันดักกุ๊กก่อนทาเพียงบ่ร้องนะพวกกุ๊กมันนี่พวกจุดประกาศที่มันคล้องนี่บ้านอยู่ดูอะไรที่ไหนนี่จะมาอย่างนั้นอยากคลาดเองไอ้ตัวเราสุดนี่สุดเลยบ้านนี่รวยได้บ้านตัวเราเป็นกลางกันตัวไม่เป็นดำนั้นแถมอันตรายเช่นจังตื้อเราจะซื้อจังงี้ทำไมยืนนั้นขนาดtrong nhiều tiếtเป็นนั้นไปในเวทีนั้นพวกละกอพวกการกรรมกรตัวเราได้เป็นนักการระบายได้พวกนั้นคือวิ่งแล้วขนมเป็ดไอ้trong gì chúng ta nói là món thực kiếm mà cái chặt cái gì đó còn cái chặt đặc cúc mà thằng cúcเอาđi bé thái chạy máu cho được cúc ấy mà đây không thấy gì nó lắm á này nhưng mà
เขาเป็นคนแต่ลุงยินจะรู้ที่เราตะเกียอะไรของการไปกับวันล้วนนำไปแต่ที่วันที่จะช่วยนึกน้องไปในช่วงที่ชาที่ตายเป็นคนวันที่มาเล่นมันอะไรที่ยืนแบบเล่นทำมาโบราณเล่นที่สุดรู้เป็นการทำเชิงแนวมอง
tôi nói về vấn đề dân clay dân bài group đấy nè dân straight là số mấy đó là trong sông suối từ về Adam là dân từ xe sập bọt từ nằm nằm lên tá dân từ xe sập bọt nhà tăng email đó có tôi được sạc cả sông áo quần
you know stated that there's a kind of homework that people today will have to do to kind of call our senators, state senator. How do we do that? By phone, by mail, or by email?
Yeah, thank you for the question. This is done by email and by letter. You can phone offices and leave a message, but what the elected members are going to hear most about, unless there's like 5,000 phone calls where the staff say, you won't believe it today or this whole week, people are constantly calling about this. That can happen on some other kind of stuff. I don't think you're going to have that. So I would put in writing. And I was going to pass to Tavi because Tavi is trying to organize this. This is what she does and does really well. And we're trying to build a sense of community in the Cambodian diaspora, and so I think it's important for that to be to her, not to me.
បាទឥឡូវមកកម្ពុជា Tavi លោក Brad គាត់មានប្រសាសន៍ថាការធ្វើ homework គឺមានវិធីច្រើនដែរយើងអាចសរសេរជាលិខិតមានឥទ្ធិពលជាងទូរស័ព្ទអាចទូរស័ព្ទទៅគេនិយាយយើងវិការដាក់សារជាសម្លេងអីហ្នឹងវាមិនជាមានឥទ្ធិពលអីដល់ថ្ងៃហ្នឹង5000សារដល់ហ្នឹងវាមិនគួរណានឹងអាចមានរឿងចាក់កើតឡើងទេមានប្រធានបទផ្សេងអាចដល់ចាក់ដាក់ជាប្រវត្តិខ្លះគឺទៅហៅចឹងណាប៉ុន្តែសរសេរសម្បត្តិមានឥទ្ធិពលច្រើន
So the first gentleman that you mentioned, it was a statement, but I understand that you have a question. You just don't know how to formulate the question. You have to understand the international community as Khmer. When we look at something, we look at like right? It hurts me. So, but you have to understand in this world, it's really important that if we want to create the Cambodia that we want, we have to take control of it. So you can't look at the UN in a way that's saying, wow, they are so powerful, let's beg them and ask them. No. If you look at this, why we have gotten so successful is because we don't do that. We tell them exactly what it is that we want them to do, and we have this conversation. You took Ajam with gay. You don't want to ask them, and that's what we do. Every time we work with the UN, I never say save Cambodia. I never say me. I always say as the Khmer community. The Khmer community asks. The Khmer community demands. You don't know it, but you're knowing it today. I'm telling you that's what we're doing. So every success that you see is because we're saying the Khmer community is asking this. So, and we make sure that we find people that are professional, such as Brad, but more than Brad, Morgan, and we had to create a whole, what do you call that? We created with them was 10 different lawyers, even though they're students, but to help to how to better strategize, how do we better articulate our thoughts with international law to get them to hear us. So that's why we are here today. And to go into your questions is exactly how it connects, where we create the Khmer Urgent Action Network. I understand the Khmer community said, oh, we've been needing to say, I decided to say, letter you have, no, letter writing requires it requires strategy. It requires you to pay attention to every single word that the international community, that any country has said, and you use that to connect with them. And you use that to keep pushing what it is. Like Brian mentioned the EBA, 20%. Why not 100, right? You have to keep pushing it. You can't just say, okay. No, it's not okay. You say it's not okay. Okay? So this letter campaign that we're creating for Khmer people, we say as Khmer as a whole, because this is also to support the people in Cambodia who do not have the capability and the capacity to voice their concern. So it's really crucial that our community does that. I know that emailing is very difficult. I know that picking up the phone call is difficult. It's threatening. It's you can't check game, you can't check that email, right? But you have to try because it's free. It doesn't cost anything. For Khmer people, so therefore you have to do it. We have to do it. So later on, when we will talk in more detail about the letter writing campaign, we'll talk about outside, which is where Sarah, the whole table, and the line will talk more into detail, because we do need to talk about it as a community. And I want to limit our ability to send joint letters. I know we write a letter and then we sign 57, 100 signature. It looks great, but numbers is important. How would you feel if you received one letter with 100 signatures, but if you receive 100 emails at the same time? You would pay more attention to the 100 emails. Okay.
Anh có chờ theo quý vị mãi bắt trên trong tiền người ta hay như là sai cái bắt chất thưa cá còn ơi thưa cá họ bỏ vào tiền để mà tập theo vị trên mãi ra cô sao mà là để không cá là gì xa quạt bàiคือquạt chậm gì sao để cho hay xa quạt bài bênคือnhưเคยทาเอาไว้ใหญ่บอกเราหันเรื่องรางคือของว่าประจำเหมือนแม่จะสมมติแม่ก็จะหักโดยจีนยิ่งบอกกับเลยคือเราเราแบบนอกสายได้เอาไว้ได้เช่นแบบนอกสายเดี๋ยวก็คงจำคือในทีนี้คือยืมได้ให้จัดการเดี๋ยวยืมช่วยจุดการสาธิตจุดไอ้นี่จะเอาแต่ส่งที่ช่วยที่รวมการสาธิตที่มีแต่ตั้งแต่ในโครงการของการเกี่ยวกับยืมแต่ตั้งยืมแต่ตัวเกี่ยวกับตัวเขาเติมโรงเรียนแต่ยืมเอาแต่ส่งโดยกลุ่มได้คือยืมแต่ปรับขนาดเติมการไหนเติมการเลยสร้างแต่ยืมมีปัญหามวยไปจังยืมมีปัญหาแต่ยืมของยืมเอาแต่ส่งที่บันไดยืมปรับที่ขนาดบ้านเป็นการเนี่ยลำดับนี้ให้ใจชี้อธิบายเรื่องโครงการแต่ยืมเสร็จท่านก็มีหนังนางกรมแต่มีนะคะจุดนี้โดยจีนในโลกแบบอาดัมกรมกวาดมีการมีแต่ที่ก็จะนอบุญเนี่ยอันนี้จะได้นี่คือชี้อธิบายเรื่องโครงการสิ่งเล็กแบบว่าใกล้กันอยู่จุดไม่เก่แต่ช่วงในโครงการช่วยตอบแต่เรื่องยึดในโครงการเสร็จไปยืมเสร็จอีเมลเสร็จคัดแต่ยืมเสร็จนั่นคือเหมือนอธิบายแม้แต่họ đó khi mong muốn sẽ xây trên được những khách thuồng mà sẽ lập cho nó trong hạt lấy hạt đập những đai mà rồi nghe hay vấn tới thêm đi tha chỉ ca lõ nhưng sẽ xây những khách mà rồi nhà khách để lái vì miền thì quân khăn trên ca là nhà mà lắp tới vì mình cho lắm đó ta bảo nhà mà nhà làm lắp mà rồi sẽ lắp rồi miền thì quân thì bà trên cái chân thì chính là những cái con mình sẽ sang được không ca sẽ xây điện ta sẽ xây nó sẽ xây pin ấy tới làm quay lắp có chắc tao luôn chặt này là trong chui dương có cái đâm ha dương từ xe nó ai từ đó hay cắt từ đây nhưng không càng như dương sao năng được đi bây giờ như bọn bài không nó giúp từ xeอย่างไม่ขาดบอกtừ xe taoอย่างไม่คือใครได้ยืนตัดสายต่างกัน
I'm going to add one quick point here, please. I used to work at the United Nations, then at Human Rights Watch, and I'm sure the elected officials here will have the same experience. If I get a letter or email saying, "Dear Mr. Adams, thank you for all your work on behalf of Cambodia. Please help save democracy," I have no idea what to do. But if you write and imagine how the person who receives it is going to understand your letter, and you say, "Dear Mr. Adams, it's very important that we weaken Hun Sen and the CPP's economic strength. They make a lot of money from the garment sector. There's a lot of human rights abuses in the garment sector, and they're selling billions of dollars of clothes. The EBA was at 20%, and for it to have real impact, it needs to go to 50% or 80% or 100%. Can you help us understand what the best strategy would be to achieve that. But then I receive something that I can actually do something with. It's like if you're on the Long Beach City Council and someone writes to the city councilman and says, please make our economy better. We all want jobs. Like, of course, right? Yeah. Magic wand, here's the job for everybody. It doesn't work like that. But if you say, in the community, our youth need a place to go after school, they need job training, or they need a place to play basketball, or whatever. So please be very specific. And this is where you can work with Tavi or with me or other people who have maybe more access and experience with these kinds of targets. But make them really specific. No one's going to be able to save Cambodia from a dictator if you just say, please save us from Hun Sen.
ខ្ញុំសាររបស់លោកប្រធានាធិបតីនេះគ្រាន់តែជាការបង្រួនស្មារតីការដែលដឹងអំពីថាតើយើងសរសេរលិខិតមិនដើម្បីឲ្យជោគជ័យព្រោះសរសេរទៅតំណាងនេះបើគាត់ការទទួលលិខិតរបស់យើងថាឥឡូវខ្ញុំចង់ឲ្យលោកជួយសង្គ្រោះប្រទេសកម្ពុជាវាធំធេងពេកមិនទៅសង្គ្រោះកម្ពុជាណាយើងជួយតម្រៃមិនដឹងចាប់ពីកតុយមុនពីក្បាលមុនតែឆ្នេះនៅក្នុងការសរសេរទៅតំណាងនេះគឺយើងសរសេរជាក់លាក់ចំណុចដែលចង់បានថាយើងចង់បានឲ្យប្រកបប្រកបទីរត់ថាលោកប្រធានាធិបតីខ្ញុំចង់បានឲ្យលោកជួយខ្ញុំបន្តិចមើលជួយថាតើមានយុទ្ធសាស្ត្រអីដើម្បីដោះស្រាយព្រោះឥឡូវហ្នឹងការដែលប្រទេសកម្ពុជាមានកំណើនសេដ្ឋកិច្ចកើនឡើងខ្លាំងណាស់ដាក់តនកម្ម EBA 20%វាអត់មានប្រសិទ្ធភាពទេហើយអ្វីដែលជាកំណើនសេដ្ឋកិច្ចនោះវាធ្វើឲ្យថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំនៃរបបសប្តាហ៍នេះគឺថាអាចនឹងធ្វើទុកបុកម្នេញប្រជាពលរដ្ឋកាន់តែខ្លាំងព្រោះសិទ្ធិមនុស្សជាតបតៃនឹងរួចអញ្ចឹងតើយើងមានយុទ្ធសាស្ត្រអីអាហ្នឹងគាត់ថាអាចនឹងបង្កប់បង្ហាញពីយុទ្ធសាស្ត្រអីចឹងទៅទីហោះនេះទៅដំណើរនេះតែសង្កាត់យើងអញ្ចឹងប្រាប់ថាជួយខ្ញុំបាននេះចង់ឲ្យសង្គ្រោះការងារបងប្អូនសហគមន៍យើងឲ្យមានការងារធ្វើច្រើនសង្គ្រោះពាក្យអញ្ចឹងណាតែគេចង់ឲ្យយើងមានការងារធ្វើច្រើនហ្នឹងអញ្ចឹងតែធ្វើមិនចង់បាននេះឲ្យពិតប្រាកដអញ្ចឹងបើតែសេទៅចាសង្កាត់គឺប្រាប់ទៅថាក្មេងៗចូលចិត្តហាត់ប្រាណនៅម្ដងសហគមន៍មានអត់មានសុវត្ថិភាពទេឥឡូវដាក់ភ្លើងមកភ្លើងឥឡូវធ្វើអីកន្លែងនេះឲ្យមានពលិសមានសុវត្ថិភាពអីអាហ្នឹងក្នុងន័យបែបជាក់លាក់បែបហ្នឹងគឺគាត់អាចដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាបានភ្លាមៗហើយមានសម្បត្តិរបស់យើងហ្នឹងគឺមានឥទ្ធិពលសូមគេបងខ្ញុំស្ដាប់បទអន្តរាគមន៍របស់លោកប្រេតអាដាមដែលគាត់ថាមិនពេញចិត្តចំពោះចំណាត់ការរបស់សហគមន៍អន្តរជាតិក៏ដូចជាសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកចំពោះការស្ដារលទ្ធិប្រជាធិបតេយ្យនៅកម្ពុជាសម្រាប់ខ្ញុំរឹតតែមិនពេញចិត្តទៀតដែរព្រោះថាខ្ញុំមើលឃើញតាំងពី93មកដល់2023នេះរឿងវានៅតែដដែលបាទដល់អត់ចេញទេនៅតែថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំតាំងពីខ្ញុំកើតមកឃើញថារត់ខ្លះបើថាថ្នាក់ដឹកនាំអញ្ចឹង40ឆ្នាំកន្លងនេះលោកជារដ្ឋមន្ត្រីហ៊ុនសែនគ្រប់គ្រងហើយឃើញថាអំពើរំលោភសិទ្ធិមនុស្សនៅតែមានជាបន្តបន្ទាប់ហើយចំណាក់ការអន្តរជាតិដូចអត់មានប្រសិទ្ធភាពអីទេឥឡូវនេះ2023ទៀតគេថាចប់ពីគាត់មកចូលគាត់ទៀតតើមានអីផ្លែកវាអត់មានអីផ្លែកទេរត់តែឈ្មោះទៅអញ្ចឹងអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំគិតថាចង់បាននោះគឺយើងឃើញថាប្រទេសយើងដឹកនាំដោយឯកបៈហើយយើងដាក់ការហើយតើអង្គការសហជីវជាតិនៅទទួលស្គាល់កៅអីរបស់ប្រទេសកម្ពុជាអាសនៈប្រទេសកម្ពុជានៅអង្គការសហជីវជាតិតទៅទៀតឬយ៉ាងម៉េចសូមអរគុណបាទអរគុណបាទនេះគឺសំណួរពីលោកជំនួសដែរ
នៅក្នុងនេះដែរខ្ញុំចង់សួរលោកប្រធានាធិបតីថាក្រោយពេលដែលអង្គការទៅស្រុកខ្មែរយើងនឹងអសមត្ថភាពក្នុងការដោះស្រាយឲ្យដោយថាគណៈបក្សផ្សេងទៀតវាឈ្នះហ្នឹងណាចាចាប់បច្ចុប្បន្ននេះអង្គការសហជីវជាតិគាត់មានបានសាររើកិច្ចការអស់នឹងឡើងវិញដែរទេដើម្បីរៀបខ្លួនពេលដែលខ្លួនអសមត្ថភាពនៅក្នុងការបោះឆ្នោតឆ្នាំ93ហ្នឹងចាហ្នឹងមួយទៀតសំណួររបស់ខ្ញុំចង់សួរថាតើអង្គការសិទ្ធិមនុស្សហ្នឹងមានដឹងថារាជរដ្ឋាភិបាលកម្ពុជាសុខុនសែនហ្នឹងមានការរំលោភសិទ្ធិមនុស្សដែរអត់ចាអរគុណចាសូមគោរពលោកប្រធានាធិបតីចាបានន័យថាយើងប្រជាជនគោរពច្បាប់តែហ៊ុនសែនវាលេងច្បាប់ព្រៃរាល់កណ្ដងហ្នឹងបានថា30ឆ្នាំហើយដែលវាកាន់អំណាចហើយវាអត់គោរពសិទ្ធិមនុស្សនេះហើយដល់40ឆ្នាំហ្នឹងវាច្បាប់ព្រៃយើងចេះគោរពច្បាប់តែយើងឈ្នះវាយ៉ាងបានឈ្នះវាចាឥឡូវខ្ញុំសូមលោកប្រធានាធិបតីជួយឲ្យបងប្អូនចាសុខใจអរគុណចាតែមកនេះខ្ញុំសូមខ្ញុំមក
ខ្ញុំមកស្មោះបញ្ញាមរកព្រោះនៅទីក្រុងឡុងប៊ីចនេះបាទដោយសារតែបញ្ហានយោបាយស្រុកខ្មែរតែប្រកបតែកំពុងតែ
ធ្វើឲ្យយើងគ្រប់គ្នានៅការតែហ្នឹងការទុកមិនសក់ចិត្តអារឿងដែលថាបោះឆ្នោតតែប្រហែលហ្នឹងខ្ញុំគ្រាន់តែចង់ដឹងថារដ្ឋាអង្គការក្រៅរដ្ឋាភិបាលដែលកត់ត្រាអំពាវនាវតាំងពីឆ្នាំ1993រហូតមកដល់ពេលនេះថាពេលណាទៅមានវិធានការឲ្យចាក់បាទមិនមែនចេះតែថាអំពាវនាវកត់ត្រាជាពិសេសហ្នឹង UN បាទដែលជាស្ថាប័នមួយដែលអន្តរជាតិដែលមានការរៀបចំការបោះឆ្នោតត្រឹមត្រូវមួយពេលនៅឆ្នាំ1993អញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំគ្រាន់តែគិតថាបើសិនជាការបោះឆ្នោតនេះយើងថាឯកបៈនឹងឈ្នះហើយខ្ញុំគ្រាន់តែសំណូមពរឲ្យ UN បានរៀបចំកៅអីមួយដាក់ជាខ្មែរដែលនឹងចូលទៅកណ្ដាលក្រោយពីការបោះឆ្នោតគេនឹងឲ្យចូលទៅក្នុងសភានៅក្នុងUN ណាអញ្ចឹងគាត់តែរៀបចំកៅអីមួយដាក់នៅខាងខាងដោយបញ្ជាក់ថាការបោះឆ្នោតនេះគឺជាការមិនត្រឹមត្រូវ UN មិនទទួលស្គាល់ទេអញ្ចឹងលោកឯងនឹងអង្គុយក្រៅសិនទៅចាំឲ្យ UN រៀបចំការបោះឆ្នោតមួយដល់ត្រឹមត្រូវអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំគ្រាន់តែសំណូមពរឲ្យ UN ចាប់វិធានការជប់កត់ត្រាជប់អំពាវនាវបាទសូមអរគុណ
បាទខ្ញុំមួយសិនកុំអាសូមឆ្លើយម្ដងសិនអ្នកតែបានវិញខ្ញុំឆ្លើយខ្លួនឯងអំវិញតែពេលទៀតអំវិញអរគុណហើយសូមជាឱកាសនេះអញ្ចឹងដោយសារបងប្អូនយើងច្រើនអ្នកដែរដែលចូលរួមតាមប្រព័ន្ធ Zoom យើងខ្ញុំនាទីនេះអាចស្រង់ជាសំណួរបានបើសិនជាសរសេរសំណួរហ្នឹងនៅក្នុងប្រព័ន្ធ Zoom ព្រោះយើងអាចឲ្យមេក្រូទៅបងប្អូននៅ Zoom បានសរសេរនៅក្នុង chat ហ្នឹងមកក្រុមការងារយើងខ្ញុំស្រង់មតិឬក៏សំណួរហ្នឹងដើម្បីសួរទៅវាគ្មិនរបស់យើង Okay, so there are 4 questions actually. Two are very identical. It's about UN, how UN body gonna do regarding the selection. Just mentioned, like, of course, we know that it is a kind of event. The CPP gonna win the landslide victory again. But what will UN do to disregard this election? Should there be a kind of recognition of the kind of Cambodia seat at the UN, or should really, like as the gentleman suggested, put a seat outside of the UN kind of hall and waiting until like Cambodia has a free and fair election to bring back the seat to Cambodia to represent and things like that. So is there kind of way to do that? That's the 2 questions about. And another question is more about. Okay,
what we would like and what is possible are not the same thing, unfortunately. So the United Nations is a club of about 190 different governments, and if you excluded governments that have not had democratic elections, you would exclude the majority of governments in the United Nations. So there are very few countries in the United Nations that would vote to exclude a country because their election is not free and fair. That's just the reality. The United Nations is not a club of democracies. It's not a requirement to be a democracy to be a member of the United Nations. About the only time that a government is not recognized is after a coup, and that happened in 1997, of course, in Cambodia. Or if there is a violent takeover by a particularly awful government. So a lot of awful governments take power illegitimately, but the only one I know right now that hasn't been given a seat is the Taliban in Afghanistan. And as much as I think Hun Sen is a killer who should be in prison, he's not the Taliban. And so they reserve excluding the people who are in power from the seat in the UN for very unusual cases like the Taliban. So in short, I'm sorry to say, it's not going to happen.
បាទឆ្លើយតបទៅនឹងសំណួរបងពីគូគ្នាតាក់ទងនឹងកៅអីនៅអង្គការសហជីវជាតិចម្លើយគឺអង្គការសហជីវជាតិជាបណ្ដុំអង្គការដែលមានរដ្ឋាភិបាលនៅទូទាំងពិភពលោកជា190ប្រទេសដូច្នេះស្ថាប័ននេះគឺធំហើយប្រទេសទាំងអស់ដែលជាសមាជិករបស់អង្គការសហជីវជាតិដែលមានកៅអីនៅក្នុងអង្គការសហជីវជាតិសម្ដែងមិនមែនសុទ្ធតែជាអ្នកដែលបានជាប់ឆ្នោតដោយស្របច្បាប់ទេច្រើនណាស់ដែលជាសមាជិកអង្គការសហជីវជាតិមានអាសនៈនៅអង្គការសហជីវជាតិប៉ុន្តែមិនជាប់ឆ្នោតដោយសារការបោះឆ្នោតដោយសេរីត្រឹមត្រូវនិងយុត្តិធម៌ទេដូច្នេះបើចង់ឲ្យអង្គការសហជីវជាតិដែលជាសមាជិកដែលខូចដែរនោះទៅបោះឆ្នោតមិនគ្រប់គ្រងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាតែគេបោះកាត់អត់បើគេអត់កាត់ខ្លួនគេដែរដូច្នេះវាចំណែកការហ្នឹងគឺអាចនឹងលំបាកធ្វើណាស់ព្រោះដោយសារតែមិនមានសម្លេងគ្រប់គ្រាន់ដើម្បីឲ្យដកកៅអីអង្គការសហជីវជាតិចេញពីប្រទេសកម្ពុជាបានទេគេដឹងថាយើងប្រព្រឹត្តមិនត្រឹមត្រូវអ្វីដែលដឹងកន្លងមកមានតែប្រទេសមួយគត់ជាង190ប្រទេសដែលអង្គការសហជីវជាតិដកកៅអីចេញដោយសារតែការរំលោភបំពានហ្នឹង คือประเทศตาลิบันคือกรมตาลิบันและการอำนาจนี่ใช่ในอัฟกานิสถานในซาแต่กรมมีแต่มวยในนักการปีนั้นโดยอัฟกานิสถานเลิกแรงแต่ก็ทำที่บ้านแต่บ้านนอกโดยอำเภอทางซาวัดมหาของโพเชียมแต่ยังตลอดการในต่างชาติการเปิดมาแล้วใครก็ทายืงบ้านของนายอย่างการล่างของเที่ยวไปชิมรอนเองใช่ไหมเอาการมาที่ทางของไอ้แต่สุดกล้วยสอบสายการในการไปชี้มันทำอะไรขนมจำนักหนักในโครงการจัดการอะไรต่างๆ
But I think you should still campaign and say that Hun Sen is not a legitimate leader. That is what you. That should be the main point of your campaign. Yet again, there was supposed to be an election. It was a selection. It's a one-party state. He is not a legitimate leader. The members of the parliament are not legitimately elected members of parliament. That's very powerful and important. Okay, that still should be a campaigning point. I don't want to make you think that that's not important.
บ้านไทยโลกจำเป็นต้องเจ็ดหาบัตรใบเชียร์ดอกไก่เอาการสาธิตปีปฏิกรรมเชียร์กราวการดับนองระบายคนสันบ้านกับแม้แต่เชียร์ปลอดไม้เนื้อแต่อาจจะการต่อสู้เหมือนเด็กโดยประกาศบริหารแต่ตอนการมันจะตัวทัวร์การเชียร์ทำเงินซึ่งสอบฉบับในบ้านตัวใหญ่ในชั้นซาบางทีนั้นก็มีถึงวันแบบเจ็ดปลาไทยยังเป็นจัดให้จัดบ้านในโครงการโดยระเบียบเชียร์ปลอดไม่ได้มาจังมีสำนวนบางคนที่เนี่ยที่ได้มาเนี่ยก็ส่วนที่เรื่องบอกส่วนที่เรื่องต่อคน I think the next question is more about same old thing that CPP is ruling or has been in power for so long, but now it is very clear that his successor is going to be his son, the Hun Sen Moung Nareth, will be the leading or maybe taking over from Hun Sen. So UN again, how can the UN do to kind of not to recognize this? I think this question somehow is relevant to the previous question and you might have answered already about the UNC. The lady asked about UNTAC, the United Nations Transitional Authority in Cambodia, who has not done a good job, and you also mentioned that UNTAC failed. But how can we really hold the United Nation body, like encompassing UNTAC to kind of get back on track or like fix their next how?
Tavi just told me she's too young to answer that question. Listen, I think that you can campaign on the Paris peace agreements, you can campaign on UNTAC, you can campaign on UNTAC's failures, you can campaign on the fact that the world, through the United Nations, promised Cambodians a democracy based on human rights, based on the rule of law, and that you don't have it, and so this is an unfulfilled promise. You can campaign on all of that, but please don't dream that you can have UNTAC round 2 or Paris peace agreements round 2. Those are not active options right now. We're not going to have another big UN peacekeeping mission in Cambodia. That was for a very specific reason at a very specific time. And I will tell you that I'm having interviewed a lot of the people who organized the Paris peace agreements and UNTAC. They were lying about their intentions towards Cambodia because they said they were going into Cambodia to create a democracy based on human rights. And many of those people would have been happy to have that outcome. But they really were going into Cambodia to get out of Cambodia. Cambodia was a problem between the Soviet Union and China, between the United States and the Soviet Union, between Vietnam and the United States, between Vietnam and China. They needed a peacekeeping mission. They needed a treaty to solve that so they could go and have their own relations on other things. And those of you who are old enough to remember that Cambodia was on the front page of the newspaper every day as the #1 geopolitical problem in the world. But they really weren't focused on the welfare of you and your families. They were focused on their own diplomatic needs. So to think now, 30 years later, they're going to be more focused on democracy and human rights than they were back then, and again, we had the Khmer Rouge in the jungle, is just not realistic. So campaign on these things. Broken promises, hypocrisy are very powerful things to use to persuade. But don't say we need another UNTAC or the Paris agreements have to be fulfilled. It will not work. I've tried it for years. It doesn't work.
បាទឆ្លើយតបទៅនឹងសំណួរតាក់ទងនឹងអ៊ុនតាក់តាក់ទងនឹងកិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងសន្តិភាពទីក្រុងប៉ារីសថាយើងអាចឲ្យអ៊ុនតាក់នឹងសើឬលៀបខ្លួនអីយ៉ាងម៉េចឬក៏កិច្ចព្រមព្រៀងសន្តិភាពទីក្រុងប៉ារីសនឹងរស់វិញចង់និយាយថាសើឬវិញអីយ៉ាងណានោះមិនមានសង្ឃឹមហើយកុំធ្វើអីព្រោះសាក់លោករ៉ាឡាលោកថាបានសាក់លបងឲ្យមិនជោគជ័យទេដោយសារអីរឿងនេះវាបែកបាត់ឥឡូវដូចកាលពី20-30 30 ឆ្នាំមុននេះរឿងដែលសំខាន់បំផុតអ្វីដែលបងប្អូនត្រូវធ្វើគឺតកតងនឹងការតស៊ូមតិដើម្បីធ្វើឲ្យអ្នកដែលសន្យាយើងនឹងថាសន្យាខ្យល់ណាញត្រូវតែធ្វើទៅតាមកាតព្វកិច្ចដែលយើងចង់ឲ្យប្រទេសកម្ពុជាមានសិទ្ធិមនុស្សនិងប្រជាធិបតេយ្យដែលឈរទៅលើគោលឬក៏មូលដ្ឋានសិទ្ធិមនុស្សនីតិរដ្ឋអីចឹងប៉ុន្តែយើងអត់មានអត់បានអញ្ចឹងយើងត្រូវតែតស៊ូមតិខ្លួនឯងហ្នឹងទាំងអស់គ្នាហ្នឹងដើម្បីជាប្រតិបត្តិភ្លឺផ្លូវហើយជាការតវ៉ាបរិហារនៅអ្វីដែលស្ថាប័នអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិនៅប្រទេសលេខ20មួយចំនួនហ្នឹងដែលអត់បានអនុវត្តចុះចូលទៅតាមកិច្ចសន្យាដែលធ្វើឲ្យខ្មែរមានសិទ្ធិសេរីភាពទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងជាការដែលអាចធ្វើបានទៅវិញតែបើរឿងថាឲ្យសាររឿងសារអីនោះគឺជាការគួរឲ្យសោកស្ដាយតែរឿងនេះធ្វើបកប្រែខុសlet me correct a little bit តែតាមគាត់បាននិយាយថាកុំសង្ឃឹមថានឹងមាន UNTAC ឬក៏សន្ធិសញ្ញាក្នុងប៉ារីសទី2តែមិនមែនមានន័យថាយើងកុំទៅសាររើសន្ធិសញ្ញាក្នុងប៉ារីសទេខ្ញុំលើកឡើងចឹងណាបាទការសាររើនៅតែសាររើនឹងក៏ដែរវាធ្វើបានអភិជាចុងក្រោយវិញហ្នឹងខ្ញុំចង់បង្កើនទៅទីកន្លែងណាបាទនេះជាទី2ទេគឺគឺការសង្ឃឹមថាហើយមាន UNTAC ឬក៏សន្ធិសញ្ញាក្នុងប៉ារីសទី2ក៏ប៉ុន្តែយើងមានសិទ្ធិសាររើដល់អ្វីដែលមានទៅជាមួយនឹងរួចទៅហើយគឺការធ្វើបានទៅបញ្ជាក់ចុងក្រោយវិញហ្នឹងបាទសូមអរគុណប៉ុណ្ណឹងបាទOkay, I need to really interpret this for Brad. The gentleman is trying to correct because there is no way to revisit getting his support or getting live on track the round two. But it's he felt like there's a loss in translation, which means why can't we really go back, look at the Paris Peace Agreement again? And the gentleman said out here that of course we could really go and revisit something that's missing in the promised Paris Peace Agreement. But of course he agreed that there's to your statement about there's no round two of UNTAC or Paris Peace Accord. But it doesn't mean that there is no way to go back and revisit what's missing, what the promise that had not been fulfilled. Right? អរគុណតាពិតនឹងក្នុងការអ្វីដែលគាត់សុំទោសលោកប្រាជ្ញចូលស្របតាមការបកស្រាយរបស់អរគុណចា៎សុំបាទ
So first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to Sarada for informing me and inviting me to this session. We became friends because of my election. And thank you so much for just being the leader of this and translating. You've done a remarkable job. I just wanted to say that I admire all of you, Adam, Tivi, you, Nareth, and Sarada, because this is really hard. This is very scary to challenge the leadershipness of mine because he's scary. He's dominant and he's powerful. And when Adam say, let's write to, I'm sorry, Brad. I'm so sorry. When he says write to your congressperson or your local senators and stuff like that, I don't think a lot of us, even myself who's a newly elected official, know how to write the proper way. And so if I can make a request, it's maybe we can have a template. Maybe we can have you write, because I've seen templates before and scripts, we put in our own words, that helps us have a shared place, in English, in Khmer, so that we know how to write a letter, right? Because for myself, I would like to get that type of instructional help. I've never been involved with this, but I clearly believe in human rights as well as women's rights. I think the biggest reason why I became involved is being our rights as a woman who was taken away. Okay, so now I have to defend my daughter's right in the future, but as a humanitarian, we have to look out for each other. Do not give up. It seems like we have despair, but Councilwoman Sulisaro showed us that don't give up because she won her election in Long Beach. Tough battle, but now even the vice mayor acknowledged her. So I don't think that we should give up. We have to keep fighting. Collectively, write a letter, write an email and if you could suggest how to write and create a template so that we know how to do it and do instruction and workshop. But I do admire you so much, all of you, for taking the chance, taking the risk of. I'm scared for my life because I'm not going to say I'm a coward, but maybe God put a purpose in my life there, I one day became an elected official, going to Congress next week in Washington, D.C. So this is just an ask, but I also wanted to say thank you so much for your hard work, your dedication, and the fact that you risk your life. I admire you all. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna, if I may. Okay. I want to kind of go back into this for a second because I feel like this is why we created this forum about what's like where we're going to go from here. Because I don't want us to keep looking backwards in the back mirror, right? And as regarding the template, this is what the Khmer Urgent Action Network is. This is what the community campaign is. It's writing templates for you to take it. Take it. Actually, CNRP has been great. They've taken our templates and then used it. And they've said it's been very successful. So it's for you, the community. It doesn't have to be, it can be anybody. Take the templates, use it, send it out. But where I want us to go is that I want us to stop looking at what has happened. We understand, now you understand that the UN is a place where it's a whole bunch of governments. It's a big club. So you have to look at everything as a chess game, right? You have to be able to move those pieces. So what is it that you want to see, right? I just said stop begging. So like you have to really, for example, the UN. You made a comment. You said, what is the UN going to do because they still recognize Hun Sen? But you have to really pay attention to what has happened, especially in this timeline. For the last 2 years that we've been working, they finally have created statements and reports stating that, showcasing that every single violation that has taken place is telling you that this upcoming election is not going to be fair, free, and legitimate. And the State Department even said that they are not sending any international observers. These words, maybe you have to pay attention, is all bisatu. Okay, they cannot get they cannot say it directly, but you have to pay attention to what they're saying. And what they're saying is that they're telling you that they don't recognize it in so many words. But it's up to you about how far do you want to take it. What do you want to do with it? Brad gave a whole bunch of options. We have to brainstorm. Right? You don't want to just say all these questions that we're saying, and I'm not like that at all. I just want us to think differently. Ask the questions differently. Come in a different light. Stop looking at it as I am hurt. You are not. You're fine. You're here now. I understand we have families, but we have to do this for our people, right? So we have to look at it from a different perspective. Yes, we're victims, but we're not victims because we are going to create what is the Cambodia that we want. Then you create it that way. You demand it that way. So until you start to change that mindset, all these questions that we keep asking for the last 30 years, as old as I am, will stop. So the next question is, how do we get the EU to change that 20% to 50%? When you start to ask questions like that, that is when you know that you are on the right track. When you start to ask questions again about don't ask that. You say, what can we do to for example, the State Department, they offered, this is what I'm going to share. The State Department offered and said, in April 2024, once the Khmer reviews in Geneva, they are willing to collaborate with the Khmer community to do an event. And I said, okay, well, if the Khmer community can understand what I just said, then let's do this event. But there is so much opportunity for us to work at the UN, but until you can understand it, that's when you can make a difference. That's when we can do things. So, did you want to ask what you want to start?
ខ្ញុំសង្ខេបតិចបងប្អូនសូមអធិស្ឋានខ្ញុំឃើញបងវាសនានិងលោកពូសព្ទនាលើកដៃយូរហើយយើងនឹងតែទទួលតែពីសំណួរទៀតទេដោយសារតែពេលវេលាវាច្រើនហើយបងប្អូនយើងនៅក្នុងនេះផ្ញើសំណួរជា100មកយើងមកពេលទេតាមណាតាបងប្អូនតែមកបងប្អូនយើងអត់ទេបងអីតែកម្មវិធីអត់ទេបងប្អូនតាមបងប្អូនរួមតែបានដាក់សំណួរមកសម្បានខាងខ្លួនដែរមួយចំនួនតែខ្ញុំនេះតែមានសំណួរខ្លះតែសួរតែវាមិនរបស់យើងតែសង្ខេបអ្វីដែលអ្នកស្រីក្រុមប្រឹក្សាក្រុមលផាម៉ាកៅចំណេះនេះគាត់និយាយយើងហ្នឹងថាយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាមកអស់សង្ឃឹមព្រោះការតស៊ូរបស់យើងតែតទៅជំនុំយ៉ាងអីនេះនឹងមានការជោគជ័យឲ្យគាត់ឲ្យមួយគំរូតែចាសង្កាត់លេខ6របស់យើងអ្នកស្រីស៊ូលីសារ៉ូខំប្រឹងតស៊ូមកទេដើម្បីតាគុំលំបាកយ៉ាងណាតតាំងយ៉ាងណាចុងក្រោយនឹងការតស៊ូរបស់យើងនឹងបានជោគជ័យយ៉ាងច្រើនដូច្នេះនេះជាសារខ្លីរបស់គាត់សង្ខេបហើយទេចង់និយាយពីរឿងមុនហ្នឹងអ្នកស្រីចំណេះគាត់គាត់ស្នើថាយើងឲ្យបងប្អូនខ្មែរយើងសរសេរលិខិតអីហ្នឹងតើសរសេរបានមិនតើមានគំរូជាបែបខែនេះឲ្យយើងគាត់ថាមានជាក្រុមមកឲ្យយើងគាត់ឡើងពេញមានសាច់មានអីចឹងណាទេវីគាត់និយាយថាអាហ្នឹងហើយដែលយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាកំពុងតែធ្វើនេះយើងមានជាក្រុមមានជាការណែនាំហើយយើងនឹងដាក់ជាច្រើនហ្នឹងមកដាក់សាច់ទៅខ្លាចជារូបភាពអីចឹងអស់ហើយអ្វីដែលសំខាន់ទៀតនោះគឺថាក
ការសរសេរមិនមែនចាំតែយើងព្រមមានអីតែយើងដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាចង់គោលដៅរបស់យើងចង់បានអីកុំទលំទលាយពេកឧទាហរណ៍តែយើងចង់ឲ្យ EU គេថាឥឡូវ 20% មិនល្មមចង់ឲ្យចេញកាត់ថែម 50-60% ហើយតែលើលក្ខខណ្ឌអីពន្យល់គេស្នើគេឲ្យនិយាយថាហេតុអីបានយើងត្រូវចង់បានចឹងហើយមួយទៀតគឺតែតនឹងvậy đấy rồi vậy thì là what thầm này đó State Department còn gì trong khi chúng ta có thể làm đấy đó là trang hỏi mong muốn sản cung khoai rồi hai người xa năm chúng ta một cái muốn đến kia để trong cái ca sản cung khoai mùi còn tất cả con mi thực hiện là bọn tiền chất là con muốn khoai nhưng mua mà tệ nhé ăn trong cái ca nó bằng mấy thì chia ở chia vậy để những kia kia ai sản cung bằng cả kia còn sao nó bằng đấy chui đặt sai bàn hàng cái chuyện hàng mà tiền lại mà là trong họ con hài miếng là thành đua con ôn đi dùng mà theo mình ăn cái tầm tay lấy xong rồi vòng để snack hàng coi để trong khi được bài vô hay người thuộc tận á dương tất cả chi sẵn lắm ca nhưng xong bài con một sẵn có đấy trên xong bài mà xong bài là sai bài bạn này ok tôi phải liên rồi cho nó dân ra con là một buổi này xong con chắc nói là xem là mà cái ra đây ngày là ra tại vì là một chuyện là xong bài thì cho nó vâng.
And I'll make it very short and brief. I'm from Cambodia National Rescue Party Women's Affairs, and we have a subcommittee for foreign affairs, and we've been working, lobbying with Congress and representatives. For example, next week, on the 17th, we have a meeting with District 48. So we've already been working for this for a couple of years now. We passed, last year, it was only one vote short of S3052. So we do have a way, the template that we could share. Thank you so much.
បាទខ្ញុំស្រីគាត់គាត់តែប្រកាសថាគាត់តំណាងឲ្យខាងគណៈបក្សប្រជាជាតិជាគណៈកម្មការស្ត្រីហើយធ្វើការតស៊ូមតិច្រើនជាមួយនឹងតំណាងនេះតាមតែគឺប្រសិទ្ធសមាជិកប្រតិភិឲ្យគាត់មានជាទម្រង់លិខិតដែលអាចសរសេរដើម្បីឲ្យគេស្ដាប់នឹងដែរគាត់អាចចែកដែរបានចឹងគឺជាសារពេលចេញទៅក៏ប្រយោជន៍លេខទូរស័ព្ទរបស់គាត់ហើយនឹងអាស្រ័យថាគាត់ផងមក
អរគុណណាស់ចឹងខ្ញុំជាធម្មខ្ញុំសូមគោរពហើយអរគុណមែនទែនចំពោះសមាគមសេវកម្ពុជាថ្ងៃនេះដែលបានធ្វើកិច្ចការហ្នឹងហើយជាពិសេសខ្ញុំក៏អរគុណលោកព្រះអាដាមខ្ញុំបានស្ដាប់យ៉ាងយកចិត្តទុកដាក់ថាលោកព្រះអាដាមក៏ស្គាល់ពីព្រឹត្តិការណ៍គ្រប់បែបយ៉ាងទាំងអស់នៅប្រទេសកម្ពុជាហើយខ្ញុំចាប់អារម្មណ៍មួយត្រង់ដែលខ្ញុំបានឃើញនៅក្នុងកិច្ចការដែលសមាគមបានធ្វើកន្លងមកនេះខ្ញុំមានសំណួរសួរថាតើព្រឹត្តិការណ៍ថ្ងៃទី5ថ្ងៃទី6/97ដែលយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាបានឃើញហើយថាលោកហ៊ុនសែនមានអំណាចទៅដល់សប្តាហ៍នេះគឺយើងចោទថាគាត់គឺជាអ្នកធ្វើរដ្ឋប្រហារពីព្រោះពេលនោះយើងឃើញព្រឹត្តិការណ៍ដែលក្នុងថ្ងៃ5ថ្ងៃ6មេដឹកនាំអ្នកស្នេហាជាតិដែលជំនួយទៅហ៊ាននៅក្នុងគណៈបកហ៊ុនស៊ុនពេជ្រដូចជាលោកវិជឿនលោកចៅសម្បត្តិលោកហូសុកហើយខ្ញុំស្គាល់សិទ្ធិអ្នកដឹកនាំមេធំៗហ្នឹងគាត់មានគ្រួសាររត់មកទីក្រុងមកនេះគឺលោកហូសុកខ្ញុំស្គាល់ទាំងប្រពន្ធគាត់ខ្ញុំស្គាល់ទាំងប្អូនគាត់ហើយខ្ញុំក៏មានជីវិតភក្តិរបស់លោកចៅសម្បត្តិដែលជាគ្រួសារគាត់ខ្ញុំជាពូម៉ាក់ខ្ញុំអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំក៏ចង់ដាក់សំណួរថាតើក្នុងព្រឹត្តិការណ៍ថ្ងៃទី5ទី6ហ្នឹងយើងអាចយកព្រឹត្តិការណ៍ហ្នឹងជាបណ្ដឹងសម្រាប់ធ្វើឲ្យអ្នកដែលស្លាប់នៅក្នុងនោះអាចសុខចិត្តដែរបានទេពីព្រោះបើតាមយើងស្ដាប់នៅហេតុការណ៍ទាំងអស់គឺការឆ្នាំ97មនុស្សប្រហែលជា100នាក់ដែលត្រូវស្លាប់នៅក្នុងនោះហើយនេះជាតនភាពមួយធ្ងន់ណាស់បើសិនជាយើងមិនយករឿងនេះយកចិត្តទុកដាក់បំផុតក្នុងការផ្ដល់ដល់ទៅអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិពីព្រោះជាការកាត់សម្លាប់ប្រជាជនឯងដើម្បីថ្លែងដើម្បីទាមទារយកអំណាចចឹងខ្ញុំមានសំណួរប៉ុណ្ណឹងទេតើត្រូវការជួយរកគ្រោះប្តឹងឬមួយក៏អង្គការសមាគមនេះអាចយកព្រឹត្តិការណ៍យកទៅធ្វើជាព្រឹត្តិការណ៍មួយសម្រាប់ចោទប្រកាន់ទៅលើអំណាចហ៊ុនសែនដែលបានមកដល់សប្តាហ៍នេះបាទសូមអរគុណ
បាទពីឥឡូវជំនួយឲ្យពីលោកគ្រូតបណ្ណាបាទ
But thank you អរគុណខ្ញុំសូមនិយាយភាសាអង់គ្លេសខ្លះខ្មែរខ្លះចប់ណាបងប្អូនបាន I want to thank you Brother Adam and Khmer TV and all everyone that set up this event. You know I was hoping for that this event is going to encourage us to team up for helping our Cambodian country. But right now I feel hopeless because the straight talks about from Brad from all of you that now we got PPA is not credible that we were hoping for. I don't know you answered right or wrong. And then Brad, we met each other in the early 90s, we played basketball together. And I didn't know you that famous, but I thank you for being my friend. Anyway. I hopeless because we used to do everything to help Cambodian people to go back and forth. We feel democracy is the best way for us. But right now, we're trying to promote democracy. Even Khan learned democracy from the United States. Now they arrested him, they jailed him. All of us right now are also in jail right now. We feel restless right now. Because when the CPP are up to this level, we don't know what to do, Brad. Yesterday or day Wednesday, I went to Ha Hing restaurant, the owner and the CPP leader, they all combined hands, they said, hey, thank you CPP for bringing me the business. And then all the people that try to fight for democracy, it just not work out right now. What's the American government's going to do? Right now, all these people are coming here again and again promoting communists in this country, especially in Long Beach. And I am fed up with this. I wish Mr. Sarun used to put a microphone, defend, no 7 January, I've been a long day. But now, 7 Makara right now, wow, 500 people, no problem. They have money, they have everything, they come here, they do everything. And we are the people fighting for democracy. What are we going to do, Brad? We're restless right now. We feel restless. We feel no hope. We want to have something to hope for. Okay? That's one thing I like to know. And I'd like to know, can you as an American, we are American, I've been American for 45 years. I'd like to see what can we do. Right now the UN, you said, well, don't depend on UN too much. That's right, because you are your own word, you said UN is a failure. Right? You said that earlier, you said UN has given us no hope. So who do we depend on? American government, we try to see the resolution 473, nothing ever passed. Because of the hotel government has money, they go lobby the Capitol Hill for all these things here. And we are the regular people, we have no money to lobby. So please, give us some bright light. What can we do? Our people right now stay put. We can't even go back to our country like it used to be. Okay? I used to fly free over there from 1997 on back and forth, but now every time you want to go to Cambodia, we have to ask permission all the CPP. Oh, you go to me, I have people wait for you and come bring you in. And over here, for people, the regular people, we go there. Oh, you're gonna get there. You are in the blacklist, huh? They're going to change the list right now. That's how they are threatening us. So I want you to know this is a real thing. Long Beach is a big city. They are right now everywhere. So American government needs to do something because this is between the communists and the democracy people. We are learned democracy the right way, but we try to promote the Cambodia. But now the communists right now chasing us away. Should we call the hotel government is a communist or we just a hybrid communist? Or what should we call? Can you give us
Alright, aku lebih lagi desa Brad baik dengan yang terkait lain cerita seluruh bangsa Tuhai Thai terkait dengan yang itu dan sama kata. Jadi kalau yang yang cukup menarik karena yang mau kitaเราลงไปกับความยิ่งใหญ่กับชาติแต่ยังปักใจอย่างไม่มีอะไรสักอย่างในตอนนี้แต่อย่างนั้นยงยินI'm going to summarize the 2 main questions. One from Zoom ให้ส่งมาชี้สายบองโอนตามกับความ Zoom สำนวนฉะนั้นเป็นคำมีสำนวนด้วยปีตั้งจันทร์แต่ส่วนสิ่งที่เรียนสำนวนบองลักษณะแต่คำหนึ่งสังเกตไทยถึงปรับเตือนมันเยอะแต่ฉลาดอย่างไร The question from ตั้งจันทร์ is the same as the question from the gentleman back there. It's about the killing, the coup that happened in 1997, the 1997, the 5th July 1997, when several key people were killed. This question also goes all the way to KB because you're leading this organization to say Cambodia. What can you do to kind of hold the Hun Sen government accountable even for the fact that they have killed a lot of people and they still walking free, they get away with the crime. So what can we do to kind of serve justice for those who lost their life by these terrorists?
I would like to, the gentleman with glasses that looks like a Hollywood star. I didn't know you would play. But that was a phenomenal question because I didn't even get to even touch about, I felt like we didn't even touch about really the main things that for the community to get involved in. So, like I said, the UN has opened the door for the Khmer community to get involved. And they are asking for information because Cambodia is under review every 4 years, specifically for the Human Rights Council. So by September 23rd, 2022, what year are we in?
23.
2023, we have a submission. So you asked, can you make submissions through a nonprofit or individual? It's best to make the submission, these types of questions, and these types of research through an organization. And you can always, through Sayla, raise your hand for me, thank you. So Sayla's, she is running the Khmer Urgent Action Network, which is the templates that you asked for. How do we strengthen our voices when we write to a congressman or a senator or a member state? But when we submit that information, we have lawyers that are already working with us to help strengthen all that information that you have. So when you go, you can just connect with Sayla with your information. If you have additional info, it's something that we can work with, and it's also a way for you to also work closer with the UN as well. As for the other question, once again, I'm going to repeat this again. It's up to you. So, Pudipana, he really expressed his frustration. But he's expressing his frustration to the wrong people. And what we're doing is that we're creating a foundation for you, including people that can strategically write it for you so that you can express it in a way that will actually get something going. So you can actually make progress. So once again, connect with Sayla again. So what I'm saying is that there is hope. There is hope, but there's opportunity. We need to there is plenty of opportunity. I see opportunity. Do you see opportunity? I see a lot. I see so much that I check by. Like really. So much of right? So, I mean, some of the people I work with, from Karat, right? So back from Sons and Daughters. You guys have been working with me. And I know that we need to end this, but I would like to have at least say 2 of them answer the question. How do you feel when you're working? Do you feel that it's self-empowering? Do you feel that you are making progress? Do you feel that your views is different from what it was before? And if that is the case, then it's the same for everybody. I see blue. I don't know why. I want you to see the blue with me. I could. Really bright. But you have to be willing to work. You have to be willing to ask the right questions and stop looking at it in a way that I'm hopeless. I'm not hopeless. I have plenty of hope. And I'm not saying that because I'm young. Because I've been working with the UN for a long time. I've been surrounded by people that are very qualified for this job. So there is opportunity. I'm going to leave this that, and we can also discuss like, yeah.
បាទយើងនឹងចិត្តបិទមិនតបកម្មវិធីទេយើងនៅសល់តែយើងទៅបំបីជាក្រុមនៅក្នុងការដែលនិយាយអំពីការសិក្សាសង្ខេបអ្វីដែលទេវីចង់មានប្រសាសន៍មិញតាក់ទងនឹងរឿងបងប្អូនខ្មែរយើងថាមានអារម្មណ៍តែចាស់សារឬអស់សង្ឃឹមនៅលោកគ្រូតាកណាមានប្រសាសន៍ទេវីថាចំពោះគាត់សង្ឃឹមនៅតែមានហើយមានច្រើនទៅទៀតដែលសារតែពលឺគឺឃើញច្បាស់ការងារច្រើនរហូតដល់ជាបាលធ្វើមិនអស់សំខាន់អ្វីដែលយើងត្រូវធ្វើនេះគឺមានយន្តការនៅក្របខ័ណ្ឌអន្តរជាតិច្រើនដែលយើងអាចនឹងឲ្យសម្លេងរបស់យើងឬគ្រាន់តែថាតើយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាស្របគ្នាឬយ៉ាងណាដើម្បីឲ្យសម្លេងយើងហ្នឹងឬអញ្ចឹងឯងបានតែយើងត្រៀមចំឲ្យរៀបចំឲ្យមានជាលិខិតបទដ្ឋានតែយើងអីត្រឹមត្រូវអញ្ចឹងឯងមានយើងជួយដូចជាខាងសិលាគាត់មានជាគំរូនៅក្នុងការសរសេរលិខិតយ៉ាងម៉េចអីហ្នឹងជួយចែកផ្សព្វផ្សាយឲ្យបងប្អូនបានដឹងផងដូច្នេះឱកាសរបស់យើងសម្រាប់សហគមន៍អន្តរជាតិគេបើកច្រកឲ្យយើងនៅក្នុងការដែលប្រាប់អំពីបញ្ហារបស់យើងអញ្ចឹងសេចក្តីសង្ឃឹមនេះកុំទាន់អស់ព្រោះដោយសារអ្វីដែលបងប្អូនកំពុងតែនិយាយអំពីបញ្ហាដែលកំពុងតែខ្មាស់មួយមកក្តៅក្រហាយចិត្តថាបញ្ហាមានអីដោះស្រាយហ្នឹងមកស្រ័យដាក់ពួកយើងខ្ញុំហ្នឹងគឺសុទ្ធតែអ្នករកបើស្រ័យដាក់ខ្លាំងអ្នកបងប្រែយើងសុទ្ធតែរកឆ្នាំចាំថ្ងៃចាំស្រ័យរកបញ្ហាហ្នឹងដូចគ្នាអញ្ចឹងគេបានន័យថាយើងមានបញ្ហាត្រូវយើងមានយន្តការក្នុងការដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាហ្នឹងហើយឲ្យយើងស្របគ្នានេះជាទម្រង់នៃគេហៅការបដិញ្ញាតស៊ូមតិរបស់សហគមន៍ខ្មែរបងប្អូនអាចសរសេរឈ្មោះមកយើងចុះហត្ថលេខាយើងនិយាយទៅយើងបញ្ញាចង់ឲ្យយន្តការណាដោះស្រាយយើងតែបញ្ហាដែលយើងមានស្រុកគ្នាពីពេលនេះទៅយើងអាចធ្វើបាននេះជាអ្វីរបស់ពួកគាត់យើងធ្វើដែលមានយន្តការស្រាប់តែនេះជាជាងការដែលយើងថាយើងមានបញ្ហាយើងរកអ្នកណាយន្តការឲ្យជួយបាននេះអ្វីដែលពួកគាត់ចង់ថាយើងមានជំនុំយើងមានពលិរឿងការរៀនខ្ញុំអាចឆ្លើយបន្តិចសួរបន្តិចខ្ញុំចង់បញ្ជាក់ថានេះសំណួរខ្ញុំនឹងអាចដាក់បញ្ចូលបានដែរអត់ឬមួយក៏ត្រូវការសម័យខ្លួនដែលជាគ្រួសារអ្នកស្លាប់នឹងអាចដឹង Actually Peggy I think you mentioned a little bit already about like the crimes committed back in the 1997 because he has known a lot of individuals like families who loved one being killed but can they submit the form like the facts for the investigation in like as individual person or which body that can really help them with it like what mechanism in place to help
So first of all, I would like to talk to you afterwards about this. I was living there in 1997. I did investigations for the United Nations. I had the unfortunate experience of digging up a lot of dead bodies. As you know, a lot of people were handcuffed, blindfolded, clothes were taken off, and shot in the head. This was a campaign of attempting to destroy and wipe out the Hun Sen Pac military leadership, including, I heard you mention Chao Son-bat and Ho Sok, and I think a lot of us knew them, and those are very grave crimes that we documented. And if you look at the UN website, some of the reports that I and my colleagues wrote are still there, and they're translated into Khmer. So that information is all available on the United Nations Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights website. The forum for filing those kinds of complaints would be either the ICC, but that's a complicated thing to go to the National Criminal Court, and I don't recommend it. I can explain to you why, but the main reason is those crimes were committed before the ICC was created, so they have no jurisdiction. Or you can take these to the Human Rights Committee of the United Nations, which monitors implementation of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which Cambodia has signed and ratified. So it's part of Cambodian law. The challenge for all of these things is that these are what are called, these are basically cold cases, and you guys probably all like to watch these TV shows. These are cold cases as far as the United Nations is concerned. And to get the United Nations interested, you'll need to connect them to the present. So if you want these old cases to be considered, document what's happening now and draw a direct line showing the same perpetrators. That'll be the connection. If you can show the same perpetrators, then you can get an audience. Otherwise, I don't think you have much of a chance.
អរគុណឆ្លើយតបទៅនឹងកង្វល់របស់បងវាសនាដែលសួរថាតើយើងដោះស្រាយយ៉ាងម៉េចនៅពេលដែលមានជនរងគ្រោះទូរស័ព្ទខ្លះយ៉ាងណាធម៌ទាំងយុត្តិធម៌ហើយមានការចាប់ឲ្យរដ្ឋាភិបាលទទួលខុសត្រូវ Brand Adam សួរថាយើងមានយន្តការដោះស្រាយតែនឹងចង់ជជែកជាមួយនឹងបងវាសនានៅក្រោយពិធីនេះព្រោះថាចង់ជជែកបន្ថែមអំពីអង្គហេតុនិងអ្វីដែលគាត់លើកឡើងតែយន្តការជាបុគ្គលគាត់មិនបានលើកទឹកចិត្តទេគាត់និយាយអំពីក្របខ័ណ្ឌអង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិក៏មានសមាគេហៅថាគណៈកម្មាធិការសិទ្ធិមនុស្សរបស់អង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិដែលគេដោះស្រាយរឿងបញ្ហាលោកវិធីនៅតែយើងអាចសរសេរចោលក្រោយឆ្នាំរបស់ព្រោះខាងអង្គការសិទ្ធិមនុស្សរបស់លោកដែលតាមស្កាពីមុនហ្នឹងកាលឆ្នាំ97ហ្នឹងគឺអង្គការសិទ្ធិមនុស្សនៅសិទ្ធិកិច្ចផ្ទាល់របស់អ្នកស្លាប់ប្រមាណហ្នឹងលោកដែលតាមខ្លួនឯងអ្នកតកាយស័ក្តិសមទៀតមានចោលក្រោយនៅ website របស់ UN ហ្នឹងដល់ប្រឹក្សាដល់ស្នងការសិទ្ធិមនុស្សរបស់អង្គការសហប្រជាជាតិប្រចាំនៅកម្ពុជានេះក៏មានចោលក្រោយហើយបកប្រែជាភាសាខ្មែរទៀតដល់អង្គហេតុនៃការឡើងនោះអត់ទាន់មានរលកបដិណាគាត់ថារឿងនេះគឺជាសំណុំរឿងចាស់បន្តិចយន្តការសំណុំរឿងចាស់យើងអាចនឹងរុះរើសាររើវាបានគាត់តែមានរឿងណាថ្មីហើយវាមានតំណែងតំណងសារជាប់ទៅនឹងជនដៃដល់ដដែលប្រព្រឹត្តបទល្មើសថ្មីតែវាមានពាក់ព័ន្ធគ្នាតែរឿងចាស់ហ្នឹងទៅដើម្បីយកមកឲ្យគេចាប់អារម្មណ៍តែយន្តការរឿងចាស់ដែលវាជាក់ល្ហឹមគេអាចនឹងត្រូវការពេលយូរក៏លំបាកដែរហើយយន្តការតុលាការគុំតាន់អន្តរជាតិនិង ICC វាស្មុគស្មាញលោកប្រដាប់ថាមិនប្រាប់ថាហេតុអីកុំគួរទៅផ្លូវហ្នឹងឯងគាត់ថាវាស្មុគស្មាញដោយសារអីគេមានតែថែមានវិសាស្ត្រការគេថានៅពេលដែលបទល្មើសនៃការមុននឹងតុលាការនឹងបង្កើតឡើងអញ្ចឹងយើងមិនអាចទៅផ្ដំទាទោសទៅជនល្មើសដែលបទល្មើសដែលមុននឹងតែសមាជិកការតុលាការប្រកាសចឹងហ្នឹងវាស្មុគស្មាញពីចឹងយន្តការដែលមានស្រាប់ហ្នឹងគឺចង់ឲ្យអាចារ្យហ្នឹងតែតនៅក្នុងអង្គការសហជីពនិងកម្មការសិទ្ធិមនុស្សហើយលោកថាចង់ជជែកជាមួយបងស្នាមថាជាបាយចា៎
Okay, and just 2 more points on this. So if you want to pursue this, the best place is a domestic court somewhere. There's no international court for you to pursue this. So at the UN, you can get the Human Rights Committee to look at it and make findings, but they're not a court. If you want a court to look at it, you need to find a country. So, for instance, you've heard that the French court has taken up the grenade attack against Sam Rainsy in 1997, and I was the main witness in that. If you're a witness to something or you know something, you might be able to get a court to look into that. So I went to Paris, I gave my evidence to the judge, and that's why the judge gave the order for Hun Sen to be arrested. But he has diplomatic immunity, so they didn't arrest him. But they did have an order for Hing Hing to be arrested, and that order is still out there. So there are possibilities. These cases are not over unless we get up on them. I just want to talk to my basketball friend because when I was in Cambodia, we started the first Cambodia basketball league after the Khmer Rouge, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. First, we played at Olympic Stadium, then we played at a school. We got uniforms, we had referees. It was great, so I just want to recognize that there's a lot of trauma here, and we should not act like the past doesn't matter or it's not related to the future. But I think what Tavy is saying, which I agree with, is yes, you've all been affected in some way by what happened in Cambodia. I mean, I'm a foreigner and I've been affected. I can only imagine how much you've been affected. But you have to balance that. You have to deal with that, like we all do in our own personal ways, and still turn it and look forward and try to use whatever your feelings are as much as you can. And everyone's going to have a different capacity. Some people are just like, I don't want to. There are people who aren't here because they don't want to think about this, and that's fine and understandable. But you are here. You all care, and we just need to find a way to like talk about the past, but not get stuck in it, and find ways to go forward. And to your question, give you some hope. Look, I've been doing this work for 30 years. I wake up every day trying to think of a new strategy to change something. That's the way I process it. And there are lots of opportunities. Katie has been mentioning some. There's many others. And I'll just say to your community, Hun Sen is going to die someday, or he's going to get shot in the back by somebody. It's going to be a proposal. I am not conflict. That's not how I believe in nonviolence. So you can have your own views. I'm just saying that could happen. And you need to be prepared as a community to make sure that the next regime isn't just as bad as this one. There's a lot of things you can do to try to put in place the kind of systems and institutions that matter. So civil society is going to be a big part of any future Cambodia. And you guys could be the heart of it. That's why I brought up youth. We need younger Cambodians to be involved because Hun Sen will go someday. And I'll be happy when that happens.
Yeah.
More than me. But if we just get the next person who tries to run the same system, big deal, right? Because it's not just Hun Sen. Yeah, he's the worst of them all. But there's a lot of people keeping him in power who would like the same system to continue. And so that's something to wake up every day to work for. I mean, that may be the most important thing you can do, is to try to make sure that this horrible kleptocracy, this murderous kleptocracy, doesn't repeat itself. Bye.
Yeah, but I have one question that you haven't answered me. Would you consider Malaysian government as a communist government, hybrid government, or just a normal government? Can you all first?
Okay, so this is part of looking forward. It doesn't matter. The word communism doesn't matter. And I'll tell you why. There are dictatorships of all kinds around the world. Yes, the cell system of the CPP still exists. That's a communist structure. And if we say it doesn't exist, we're intentionally denying reality. Of course it does. They still organize themselves in that way. But so do non-communist dictatorships. Right? Hun Sen is a capitalist. So is Xi Jinping. Right? They're not real communists. They want to be in power because they like being in power, and by the way, they like being really rich. So this old Cold War kind of thing, communist, I think it doesn't matter. You have people who are in power illegitimately, who want to stay in power, who are making a lot of money. Hun Sen is a billionaire. That's just shocking in a country as poor as Cambodia. So he's clearly a capitalist, as well as a dictator. If you want to call him a communist, great. But if you don't want to call him a communist, fine. It doesn't answer any questions whether he's a communist or not.
Thank you.
Ok, អរគុណច្រើនណាស់ពុកម៉ែបងប្អូនដែលសារតែពេលវេលាយើងនឹងវាខើចណាស់ហើយសូមអរគុណពុកម៉ែបងប្អូន
Thank you បាទអាណាខ្ញុំចង់សួរថាចាបើសិនជាខ្មែរទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងនៅស្រុកខ្មែរពេលយកដីយកទីហ្នឹងតាមគេប្រមាណបានបើឲ្យដឹកគេដៃយូរយួរដោយការពីឆ្នាំ1970តើអង្គការសហជីវជាតិនឹងអាមេរិកមានបទការយ៉ាងណាអរគុណផង This is it. We don't have to go into detail about it because the reason is all of this information is why we're gonna get involved in September, because all these questions, all of these topics that we're gonna bring up is we're preparing from now all the way to September. So we can talk about it afterwards, okay?
បាទខ្ញុំសូមអធិស្ឋានដែរដោយសារតែបើយើងមានពេលវេលារហូតដល់កណ្ដាលអាទិត្យយើងអាចនិយាយបានតែដល់បងប្អូនអ្នកណាដែរដល់មក12ម៉ោងក៏ដូចយើងស្វាដល់ពេលឥឡូវគឺថានិយាយទៅថ្ងៃចុងក្រោយដែលឡើងចង់បញ្ជាក់ថាយើងនៅតែអាចតែសង្គមជាផ្សេងក៏និយាយពីជំនុំដែលឲ្យយើងជំនុំចូលមកបានថាពលរដ្ឋខ្សែអត់មានជំនឿតាក់ទេថ្ងៃណាគាត់នឹងទទួលមកអាជីពតែហើយអញ្ចឹងយើងរៀនខ្លួនរៀនចាត់រៀនកាយហើយបានតើនឹងយើងមានជំនឿអីពលកិច្ចការងារបន្តរួមមានអាណាទៅបានដល់កាត់សងនេះដូច្នេះអានេះថាប៉ុណ្ណាហើយពលកិច្ចការរបស់យើងខ្ញុំសូមដាក់ស្រាប់ប៉ុណ្នេះការជួយឡើយយើងមានកម្មវិធីបន្តទៀតនេះប្រហែលជាកន្លះម៉ោងទៀតនេះដោយសារតែខាងសាលាដោយមានថាវាមានតកតងតម្រង់បរិបទដែលយើងត្រូវសរសេរយ៉ាងម៉េចយើងយកទៅពេទ្យយ៉ាងម៉េចយើងនឹងបំបែកជាទៅមានកក់តែយើងនៅខាង ក្រៅពីនៅក្រៅពីនេះគឺគាត់ជួយផ្ដល់ជារបស់វ៉ាយោបល់អីនៅឆ្នាំនៅក្នុងប្រព័ន្ធ Zoom ក៏យើងមានអ្នកសម្របសម្រួលកិច្ចការនេះដែរហើយថ្ងៃចុងក្រោយគឺយើងមានលោកសម្បត្តិដែលជាស្ថាបនិករបស់អង្គការកុលវត្តពលតាខ្មែរគាត់នឹងមានសារដើម្បីបិទពិធីរបស់យើងតែយ៉ាងណាមុននឹងបិទពិធីនេះក៏ខ្ញុំអរគុណបងប្អូនទាំងអស់គ្នាចូលចិត្តមើល3ថ្ងៃមកហើយនៅតែមានភាពស្វាគមន៍ហើយនៅចង់សួរថែមទៀតគឺបងប្រាជ្ញានៅណាខ្ញុំជួយដល់ខ្លួនព្រោះខ្ញុំសប្បាយចិត្តពេលបងប្អូនមកពីកន្លែងឆាឬការជិះបើយើងមិនខ្វល់តែណាខ្វល់តែយើងតែសូមអរគុណបាទខ្ញុំខ្ញុំខ្ញុំការដើម្បីឲ្យគាត់យើងថាថ្ងៃនេះសួរថាតើយើងមកនេះដើម្បីអីហើយខ្ញុំយល់ថាអ្វីដែលយើងមានការមិនសប្បាយចិត្តរបស់វេទនាជាភាសាចិនខ្ញុំយល់ថាដីអស់សង្ឃឹមនេះគឺយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាមានអារម្មណ៍ចឹងតែមិនមែនទេនៅពេលដែលយើងមកថ្ងៃនេះគឺយើងមានសេចក្តីសង្ឃឹមថាយើងនឹងមានវិធីដោះស្រាយចំពោះបញ្ហាខ្មែរយើងទាំងនៅក្នុងអាមេរិកនេះហើយនៅក្នុងប្រទេសខ្មែរយើងបាទគឺយើងមានវិធីដោះស្រាយនៅក្នុងស្ដីអាមេរិកនេះដោយបងមានសារចាក់តាក់ទងទៅលើ CPT ដែលគេមកបង្កើតបណ្ដាញនៅក្នុងសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកគឺយើងមានច្បាប់ថារដ្ឋាភិបាលដែលយើងមិនអាចទៅវិញមកដោះស្រាយបានទី1ច្បាប់ខាង Advocacy for Cambodia តែសួរថាតើច្បាប់នេះយើងបានចេញទៅរដ្ឋាភិបាលអាមេរិកសភាអាមេរិកបានចាប់បានចេញហើយក៏ប៉ុន្តែបញ្ហាគឺខ្មែរខ្លួនឯងតែយើងជាជនខ្មែរនេះតែយើងបានធ្វើអីខ្លះសម្រាប់ប្រជាជនយើងតែយើងបានជួយគ្រប់គ្រងគណៈបកដែលគេខំធ្វើការដើម្បីចោះញ៉ាំចោះអីនឹងអត់នេះជាសំណួរមួយដែលយើងត្រូវឆ្លើយខ្លួនឯងខ្ញុំឃើញបងប្អូនយើងចង់បានតែអ្វីដែលចង់បាននោះគឺมันអាចលេខចំនួនគ្នាហើយมันអាចធ្វើបានទេបាទគឺយើងមានសង្ឃឹមឥឡូវនេះគេយកDemocracy Act នេះទៅមកវិញដើម្បីឲ្យដល់ឱកាសខ្មែរយើងជាលើកទី2ថាតើយើងមានសមត្ថភាពហើយយើងចង់ស្ម័គ្រចិត្តថាធ្វើច្បាប់នឹងឲ្យកើតនៅពេលដែលច្បាប់នឹងកើតឡើងណានៅពេលដែលច្បាប់នឹងអាចចង់អនុម័តដោយរដ្ឋាភិបាលលោកបាយនឹងឬក៏រដ្ឋាភិបាលខាងក្រោយនេះគឺយើងអាចដោះស្រាយបញ្ហានេះបានចំណុចមួយទៀតគឺជាកំពុងតែបង្កើត National Repression គឺយើងអាចយកសេចក្តីដែលគេចង់ចោទប្រកាន់យើងឬក៏គេចង់ថាទៅលើពេលដែលយើងធ្វើកិច្ចការសកម្មភាពដើម្បីវិធីជាតតៃនេះណាហើយគេរកយករបាយការណ៍នេះទៅប្តឹងយើងឬក៏គេគម្រាមកំហែងយើងជាបុគ្គលដែលជាពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរនេះយើងអាចមានសិទ្ធិទៅប្តឹងរដ្ឋាភិបាលអាមេរិកទៅប្តឹងជាមួយនឹងស្ថាប័ននានាដែលមានសមត្ថកិច្ចរកឲ្យយើងមានសេចក្តីសង្ឃឹមបាទនៅថ្ងៃនេះយើងមកជួបគ្នានៅថ្ងៃនេះគឺខ្ញុំចង់ថាអ្នកនរគ្នាថាយើងមានសេចក្តីសង្ឃឹមមួយហើយយើងមានគោលដៅយើងច្បាស់ក្នុងការដែលយើងធ្វើកិច្ចការនេះទី1យើងបង្រួបស្ថាប័នថ្មីកម្លាំង3ដែលរួមគ្នាទី1គឺកម្លាំងនយោបាយទី2គឺកម្លាំងសង្គមស៊ីវិលទី3គឺកម្លាំងអាជនដែលយើងបានដេកដែលយូរហើយយើងមិនដែរក្រោកយើងគ្រាន់តែអង្គុយថាអូអង្គការសហជីវជាតិជួយយើងអូសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកជួយយើងតែសួរខ្លួនឯងថាគេបានធ្វើខ្លះគេបានធ្វើហើយគណៈបកនយោបាយគេធ្វើហើយអង្គការសង្គមស៊ីវិលគេធ្វើហើយដូច្នេះថ្ងៃនេះខ្ញុំសូមបងប្អូនទាំងអស់ដែលជាប្រជាពលរដ្ឋខ្មែរទូទាំងពិភពលោកដើម្បីដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាខ្មែរគឺមានតែខ្មែរទៅជាម្ចាស់ប្រទេសមានតែខ្មែរទៅជាអ្នកអំណាចដើម្បីគ្រប់គ្រងស្ថានភាពនេះយើងត្រូវទាំងអស់គ្នាដើម្បីសាមគ្គីគ្នាគេបកគ្នាដើម្បីតតាំងជាមួយនឹងរបបប្រជានេះហើយខ្ញុំជឿថាយើងអាចធ្វើបានបាទខ្ញុំថ្ងៃនេះអ្វីដែលខាងសមាគមសហគមន៍សេកម្ពុជាហើយនឹងខាងនយោបាយបានរៀបចំឲ្យយើងគឺយើងធ្វើអ្វីក៏ដោយបើយើងមិនចេញប្រតិកម្មអីសោះគ្មានហេតុការណ៍អីដែលអង្គការសហជីវជាតិព្រមមកធ្វើយើងទេនៅក្នុងខាងណាខ្ញុំសូមដាក់ខាងណាទៀតបាទប្រសាទទេវាស្អីទេគឺយើងចាប់ដើមធ្វើសកម្មភាពនេះតាំងពី2020មកហើយបន្តមករហូតមកដល់សកម្មភាពដែលយើងធ្វើការនេះយើងធ្វើការ1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8សកម្មភាពបាទអានេះដោយសារខ្ញុំអត់មានពេលទេព្រោះយើងមានកិច្ចការទៀតឬខ្ញុំចង់ជម្រាបថាក្រោយពីសកម្មភាពដែលយើងធ្វើការទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងធ្វើឲ្យចំណាក់អង្គការសហជីវជាតិចេញរបាយការណ៍ម្ដងហើយម្ដងទៀតប្រាប់ថាគេមិនទទួលស្គាល់រដ្ឋាភិបាលខ្មែរគេមិនទទួលស្គាល់ការបោះឆ្នោតទេតែខ្មែរយើងថាបើគេធ្វើហើយយើងមិនចាំធ្វើទេមែនទេគេចង់ឲ្យម្ចាស់ប្រទេសមិនចាស់បញ្ហានេះឧបមាថាយើងជាអ្នកជំងឺយើងទៅរកដុកទ័រហើយពេលយើងមកទៅរកដុកទ័រប្រាប់គេថាយើងមានជំងឺគាត់យើងមកនៅផ្ទះយើងថាអូខ្ញុំឈឺគង់តែមានថ្ងៃណាមួយដុកទ័រមកព្យាបាលក៏អត់ទេសកម្មភាពទូទៅដែលយើងត្រូវធ្វើអ្វីដែលយើងចង់បានគឺយើងត្រូវតែធ្វើខ្លួនឯងបាទ
ចាប់ថ្ងៃទៅខ្ញុំសូមបងប្អូនទាំងអស់ទូទាំងពិភពលោកខ្មែរយើងទៅដល់នៅទីណាក៏ដោយតែយើងមានក្តីសង្ឃឹមតែយើងតាំងខ្លួនថាយើងជាម្ចាស់បញ្ហាយើងត្រូវតែតស៊ូទាំងអស់គ្នាដើម្បីស្វែងរកដំណោះស្រាយហ្នឹងហើយយើងពិតជាមានដើម្បីបញ្ជាក់ថាអ្នកខ្លះគេសួរថាធ្វើតែដែរហ្នឹងការប្រជុំហ្នឹងខ្ញុំឃើញប្រជុំហើយឡប់ទៅផ្ទះវិញមិនណាទេពេលនេះយើងអត់ឃើញចឹងយើងមានចក្ខុវិស័យយើងច្បាស់លាស់យើងមានរចនាសម្ព័ន្ធយើងច្បាស់លាស់ដែលយើងអាចប្រមូលលិខិតផ្សេងៗដែលខាងសង្គមស៊ីវិលយើងបានចាប់ដើមហ្នឹងគឺយើងមានរបៀបក្នុងការធ្វើការដូចទេនេះបានមានភាសាចឹងដើម្បីចង់ឲ្យមានប្រសិទ្ធភាពយើងមិនមែនចង់ហត្ថការរួមគ្នាទេសម្បត្តិនីមួយគឺសម្រាប់បងប្អូនយើងទាំងអស់ម្នាក់ៗហ្នឹងចុះនៅពេលដែលយើងចាប់បានបញ្ជូនសម្បត្តិឬក៏សារហ្នឹងទៅច្រើននៅពេលតែមួយធ្វើឲ្យរដ្ឋាភិបាលឬក៏អង្គការសហជីវជាតិហ្នឹងចាប់អារម្មណ៍នេះជាចំណុចមួយទៀតគឺយើងចង់រៀបចំថាយើងមានឆន្ទៈនឹងគោលការណ៍យើងច្បាស់លាស់យើងមានអចិន្ត្រៃយ៍ដែលយើងធ្វើសម្របទៅតាមអង្គការសហជីវជាតិដែលដាក់ឲ្យយើងនៅថ្ងៃនេះគឺអ្វីដែលយើងមកជួបយើងនេះយើងដើម្បីរៀបចំគម្រោងមួយថានៅខែ9ខែ9ថ្ងៃទី23នេះគឺយើងត្រូវតែអស់គ្នាប្រមូលពាក្យបណ្ដឹងទាំងអស់ដែលយើងទាំងប្រមាណនេះទៅចុះឈ្មោះជាមួយនឹងអង្គការសហជីវជាតិដើម្បីស្វែងរកដំណោះស្រាយអស់ខ្មែរយើងមានខ្ញុំជឿថា$23នឹងមានប្រសិទ្ធភាពឡើយបើ$23មិនមានប្រសិទ្ធភាពទេណាអង្គការសហជីវជាតិក្តីសហរដ្ឋអាមេរិកក្តីមិនមែនរំលឹកឲ្យរដ្ឋាភិបាលភ្នំពេញឬក៏ម្ចាស់សាធារណរដ្ឋទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងដើម្បីងាកមករក$23តើយើងដោះស្រាយយ៉ាងម៉េចគេ$23មាន3ចំណុចដែលខ្ញុំកត់សម្គាល់ហើយខ្ញុំជឿថាបងប្អូនទាំងអស់គ្នានឹងគិតដូចខ្ញុំចឹងដែរទី1គឺរៀបចំឲ្យប្រទេសខ្មែរយើងមានលទ្ធិប្រជាធិបតេយ្យសេរីពហុបកសួរថាប្រទេសខ្មែរយើងសប្តាហ៍នេះមានគោលការណ៍មានលទ្ធិប្រជាធិបតេយ្យទេអត់ទេមិនចឹងគម្រោងការទី2គឺគោលការណ៍ដែលគេបានធានាមិនមែនសន្យាទេគឺគេធានាថាឲ្យប្រទេសខ្មែរយើងមានអភិជាក្រិតភាពបូរណភាពទឹកដីដែលមិនអាចរំលោភបំពានបានហើយមានឯករាជ្យជាតិសួរថាខ្មែរយើងមានទេអត់ទេហើយទី3គឺការស្ដារប្រទេសខ្មែរយើងគេធានាថានឹងជួយស្ដារសេដ្ឋកិច្ចខ្មែរយើងឲ្យមានភាពរុងរឿងខ្មែរយើងជួយនិយាយមកតាំងពីខ្មែរយើងបានឯកទេសរហូតដល់ខ្មែរយើងប្រទេសបន្តតែនេះដូច្នេះហើយយើងនឹងយកបណ្ដឹងយើងនេះទៅតវ៉ាជាមួយនឹងអង្គការសហជីវជាតិនៅខែ4 2024យើងចង់ឲ្យអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាដែលមានចុះហត្ថលេខាទាំងអស់រត់បញ្ចូលជាមួយនឹងលោកហ៊ុនសែនដែរដើម្បីដោះស្រាយបញ្ហានេះយើងអត់អាចទទួលយកបានចំណុចមួយទៀតខែអីបានជាយើងមកធ្វើនៅថ្ងៃនេះមិនធ្វើនៅក្រៅពីការបោះឆ្នោតព្រោះយើងគិតថាអាណត្តិរបស់លោកហ៊ុនសែនចប់ហើយនៅថ្ងៃទី23នេះគឺចប់ហើយតែយើងជាខ្មែរនេះយើងមានសិទ្ធិជ្រើសរើសអ្នកដឹកនាំអ្នកតំណាងយើងសម្រាប់អាណត្តិក្រោយពេលនេះយើងនាំគ្នាបដិសេធថាយើងមិនទទួលស្គាល់រដ្ឋាភិបាលក្រុងភ្នំពេញដែលអស់អាណត្តិនេះហើយទេហើយបងប្អូនទាំងអស់គ្នាក្រោកឈរទាំងអស់គ្នាហើយបដិសេធនឹងទទួលស្គាល់រដ្ឋាភិបាលឈប់ធ្វើជាតំណាងយើងជាម្ចាស់ប្រទេសខ្មែរយើងជាម្ចាស់នេះជាក្តីសង្ឃឹមមួយដែលបងប្អូនគួរតែធ្វើបើយើងរើសតំណាងរដ្ឋាភិបាលមួយក្នុង5ឆ្នាំឬក៏4ឆ្នាំមិនចឹងតែឥឡូវនេះគេអស់មិនជាតំណាងទៀតហើយយើងជាម្ចាស់ប្រទេសបងប្អូនខ្មែរយើងជាម្ចាស់ប្រទេសជាម្ចាស់អំណាចរហូតយើងដេញចោលយើងអាចយើងហើយយើងយកពីអត់ដឹងយើងទៅអង្គការសហជីវជាតិដាក់គេដែរខ្ញុំអត់មានបញ្ហាទេខ្ញុំត្រូវការអង្គការសហជីវជាតិមិនមែនទៅសើឬក៏កាយឲ្យប្រមូលទៅកម្លាំងដើម្បីរៀបចំ$23វិញទេយើងយក$23ជាគោលដែលអ្នកទាំងអស់គ្នាបានសន្យាជាមួយពួកយើងរៀបចំឲ្យយើងមកពាក់បនយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាណាបានលះបង់ជីវិតដើម្បីចងក្រង$23ឲ្យយើងយកមកធ្វើការហើយខ្ញុំជឿថានៅពេលនេះយើងនឹងមានជោគជ័យអូនតាមអត់ណាហើយខ្ញុំបញ្ជាក់ឲ្យបងប្អូនដឹងថាខ្ញុំសូមបន្ថែមបន្តិចបាទសូមទៅពេលនេះនៅពេលនេះយើងបានសម្រេចចិត្តថាយើងនឹងប្រមូលមតិទាំងអស់គ្នានឹងចង់បង្ហាញបងប្អូនទាំងអស់គ្នាថាយើងមកធ្វើនេះមិនមែនសម្រាប់កម្មវិធីនេះទេគឺយើងធ្វើដើម្បីអនាគតយើងមានយុទ្ធនាការច្បាស់លាស់យើងមានចក្ខុវិស័យយើងច្បាស់លាស់ម្ល៉េះហើយយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាបានចេញជាលិខិតមួយគេលិខិតនេះជាកិច្ចសន្យារបស់ពួកយើងទាំងអស់គ្នាបើបងប្អូនយើងទាំងអស់គ្នានៅក្នុងបន្ទប់នេះជួយផ្សព្វផ្សាយហើយនឹងជួយគ្រប់គ្រងក្នុងការចុះថាបញ្ញាចិត្តយើងបញ្ញាចិត្តចាប់ពីថ្ងៃនេះតទៅយើងនឹងគៀកកគ្នាធ្វើកិច្ចការហ្នឹងយើងនឹងជំរុញអ្វីដែលរដ្ឋាភិបាលអាមេរិកដែលអង្គការសហជីវជាតិចង់ឲ្យយើងធ្វើយើងនឹងហាក់ការជាមួយគ្នាខ្ញុំជឿថាខ្មែរយើងនឹងបានសម្រេចយើងនឹងបងប្អូនចង់មានការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរដោយវិជ្ជមាននៅក្នុងស្រុកខ្មែរចាប់តាមទីនេះបាទហើយនឹងយើងធ្វើការជាមួយនឹងអង្គការស៊ីវិលជាមួយនឹងគណៈបណ្ឌនយោបាយជាមួយនឹងអ្នកក្រៅឲ្យតែមានរបៀបដែលយើងធ្វើការរួមគ្នាដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាខ្មែរបាទសូមអរគុណបងប្អូនចង់មានការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរបាទសូមខ្ញុំគាត់សូមបន្ថែមខាងនេះចៅយើងមិនដែលថាគេចៅឯង trong như là cái công ty công ty này tại bây giờ chào ở đây là không được đâu tôi chắc là sâu sâu tối ở có cùng được học tiếng anh cái công ty công ty mà bắt đầu còn đây là có cái công ty này với anh nó khi ở dưới đi tổng là các bạn đã ở dưới đi các sang có sang các việc làm mình hay là rót khát không mình phải dương đầu riêng sẽ phát triển lúc gì khác để ông ta sẽ cái bàn nè ban ở dương rồi xong xong rồi làm như từ óc như này riêng phát triển rồi thì còn phải ở bàn nó là phải vô từ to ba này ở dương ăn quá các bạn từ óc thế này thì bạn nè các bạn ấy này hàng này tăng tại vì không được ban chủ quân là cái cà phê xây dựng khó khăn anh ấy từ nông dân chúng ta đang có con nằm riêng chỉ vì sao rót khát cho người đối mai để ra trong cái gì cái lòng tin của mình nằm ở vùng cao của mình anh ấy chẳng phải câu để dân dân mà tôi mình như thế người dân chúng ta đang gì tôi là vô phải gì người dân chúng ta số khác còn tôi vô phải là người anh bạn để đi giúp ta
ខ្ញុំសូមទៅលើនេះយើងតែសាច់យើងអត់មានតែcáiរឿងដែលសំខាន់ហ្នឹងគឺយើងសូមបងប្អូនទាំងអស់គ្នាគេថាបើសិនជាយើងចង់មានការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរមួយទៅបន្តយើងត្រូវតែតាំងចិត្តយើងថាយើងចាប់ផ្ដើមធ្វើកិច្ចការពីឥឡូវហ្នឹងហើយជួយផ្សព្វផ្សាយបងប្អូនយើងថាយើងជាចំណែកមួយនៃចលនានេះមិនមែនថាដេកចាំមកឯណាគេធ្វើទេយើងបាទបើសិនជាបងប្អូនគាត់ថាមានបន្តតែហើយចង់ធ្វើការលះបង់នេះចូលធ្វើការរួមគ្នាសូមមេត្តាជួយបំពេញហើយថាយកដាក់តាមចិត្តជាការរំលឹកមួយថាយើងជាផ្នែកមួយនៃការចលនាមួយដើម្បីចង់ឲ្យការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរទៅដល់នៅស្រុកខ្មែរ
I'm sorry, listen. People on Zoom have been waiting. They were supposed to start an hour ago. So this is because once we close it out, we have to give them space and time. If Kim Suk and Sophia is there, they need to take this. So if you guys have any additional questions, we have to take it off screen. So we can, okay, but we have to end now.
Yeah, okay. So, nơi New York. Vàនេះជាសំមកលើនេះជារឿងមួយដែលសំខាន់បំផុតដែលយើងមកជួបជុំគ្នាសប្តាហ៍នេះគឺយើងប្រមូលឯកសារទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងយកទៅដឹងអង្គការសហជីវជាតិបើសិនជាយើងអត់បានដឹងអង្គការសហជីវជាតិនៅថ្ងៃ9ថ្ងៃទី23នេះទេគឺយើងត្រូវរងចាំធ្វើឆ្នាំនេះចា៎នេះនៅNew YorkបាទនៅNew Yorkរហ័សសូមបើសិនជាយើងមានមតិយោបល់ឬក៏យ៉ាងណាសូមចូលទៅក្នុងសេវាកម្មនេះគឺសេវាកម្មផ្លែតហ្វមហ្នឹងគឺយើងរៀបចំផ្លែតហ្វមហ្នឹងដើម្បីជួយបងប្អូនខ្មែរទាំងអស់តើដំណាក់កាលនីមួយៗដែលយើងធ្វើហ្នឹងមិនមែនយើងជាអ្នករៀបចំព្រឹត្តិការណ៍ឬក៏ដំណាក់កាលហ្នឹងទេគឺយើងធ្វើស្របទៅតាមអង្គការសហជីវជាតិដែលរៀបចំឲ្យយើងធ្វើព្រោះហើយខ្ញុំគិតថាអង្គការសហជីវជាតិមិនបានជួយយើងគេជួយយើងគេទៅយើងដែរតែជាខ្មែរខ្លួនឯងនេះព្រោះថាតើយើងចង់ធ្វើអីខ្លះមិនមែនយើងថាអស់ខ្ញុំសុំអង្គការសហជីវជាតិជួយតែជួយយើងអាចជួយខ្ញុំជួយប្រាក់ដល់វាចង់ខ្ញុំជួយដែរបើថាជួយរឿងស្រុកខ្មែរឲ្យមានលទ្ធិជាតិដែរតើយើងចង់ធ្វើយ៉ាងម៉េចដើម្បីជួយឲ្យខ្មែរបានយើងជាផ្នែកមួយនៃការរៀបចំដើម្បីដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាបាទដូច្នេះសូមមេត្តាចូលរួមដើម្បីតាំងចិត្តថាយើងពិតជាមានចង់មានការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនេះសូមជឿថាខ្ញុំក៏ចូលមកតែdân lớp cho nó lúc mặt dân trai con thấy dân một môn rồi dân trai con thấy ở dân một môn rồi.
So with our advocacy work, we need hope as well. We need you to provide us with hope so that we can continue to do this work. So if we're able to take a pledge and do the work for the community, we would like the community to also take a pledge with us to do this work and continue on. Tate and I will sign this pledge, and I'm going to read it to you. actual date today, the Khmer Democracy Forum, where do we go from here? This is the Khmer Community Advocacy Pledge. I, Ceylonian, pledge to the Khmer community worldwide to take the necessary steps and advocacy actions required to create a meaningful and effective change for Cambodia that we envision a free and just society. So if you guys believe in this, please come down and we will sign it and you can actually take it home. Thank you.
យ៉ាបាទអរគុណមកខ្ញុំអរគុណណាដែលគួរតែនាំគ្នាដើម្បីបញ្ញាចិត្តណាថាយើងទាំងអស់គ្នានឹងស្ម័គ្រចិត្តដើម្បីដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាប្រទេសជាតិយើងជួយដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាជាតិយើងហើយបងប្អូនយកតែចិត្តដើម្បីរំលឹកថាការអាចារ្យនេះទៅយកមើល Yes you can keep it box no you can keep it for your souvenir តែសារទៅផ្ទះបង Okay, yeah. Okay.